Good morning. Just so you won't be surprised in case you miss one or two live streams. On Tuesday evening, we will start our yearly spiritual exercises. That means 8 days of silent retreat, God willing, and a time for us priests to recharge our batteries, our community. And we are providentially going to be in Ein Karem like last year, in the town of John the Baptist and his parents Elizabeth and Zechariah, and where Mary came to visit Elizabeth. Those memories are there. The birth of John the Baptist, the great prayers of the Magnificat and the Benedictus, this amazing prayer of praise that Zechariah prays after his tongue is released and he's able to speak again after 9 months of silence. So then I will not be live streaming in the Sunrise Stroll and Chat as usual. Those of you who've been around for a while, this is like the 5th time that we're doing the retreat. It's a yearly happening, and we need this time. We need to recharge, and those are moments of the spiritual life. The spiritual life continues, and it's pretty universal for everybody. It's a walk, it's a pathway, it's an exercise, steps we take in life. And so I will ask for your prayers that we will do our retreat well. And I will do it, God willing, I will do the live stream tomorrow and Tuesday morning, hopefully from here. That's the plan. And then who knows what I'll be able to do then until after the spiritual exercises. And so what's important really is in all of these things, like one day I also started to open the Bible and start to read the scriptures. And one day also I started being aware of being at Mass. Our parents took us since we were little children. And apparently after the Mass, when at home I was asked what happened today at Mass, and my answer was we saw the turf truck because that passed by, and it was obviously the means of transport for the family. And the turf truck passed by because we wouldn't see that very much where we lived. We didn't buy turf because we had our own wood from the farm. When trees would be knocked down by the storms, that would be our source of firewood. And then I think most of the local farmers also, so we didn't see a turf truck bringing a load of turf. And that was the big excitement I had. So it took me a while to learn all about the Eucharist, about Mass. And we go through life, we're learning, and we continue to learn, and we'll never have a complete arrival until the Lord brings us to glory. And these are words that are actually in the reading today. People that are in exile, what's the situation and status of immigrants, of exiles, of refugees? They're usually the bottom of the ladder in terms of social standards and social climbing. And so the prophet Baruch, it's a short book that's well worth reading. After all the sadness that Jeremiah announced of the exile and the destruction of Jerusalem, and to trust in God and not in political powers and alliances. which still is the law of international life, the way it's handled, but to trust in God. And so they end up in exile at the mercy of another power, a foreign power. That's human history. And so now the next part of it is take off your robe of mourning and misery. A change is happening. Put on the splendor of glory from God forever. And there's a very interesting little image a little bit further on. And it says, wrapped in the cloak of justice from God, bear on your head the mitre. What's a mitre? That's the typical hat that a bishop wears. And ancient kings in the Middle East wore a mitre, a very tall hat, very ornate, displaying the power, the splendor of the ruler. And it says, put on the mitre that displays the glory of the eternal name. So why does it say the eternal name? Because the people don't say the word God, the chosen people, because they're trained to have extraordinary respect for God. We don't lose that respect, but we have other ways of expressing it. We can lose the respect, obviously. That's why there has to be a training in learning, and there are things more important at Mass than the truck that carries the turf for fuel. Turf in Ireland is the word for the peat, the transformed, actually wood, all the vegetation that got transformed in wetlands over millennia and became a combustible that's useful. It has its limitations and downsides. It has a particular scent, and you can tell when you're near a turf fire. So put on the mitre that displays the glory of the eternal name. So the glory of God, that's your identity. That's your future. So take off the misery and put on God's glory. Now, it's not just a human action, and that's one of the major points of the readings, and actually of all of Scripture and all the mystery of salvation. It's a gift from God. It's not something that we elaborate, that we produce, that we fabricate, that we develop, that we make, like we make a cake from grains. And the substance of salvation is a great gift. God will show the earth your splendor. You will be named by God forever. God is bringing back the exiles, borne aloft in glory as on royal thrones. Imagine going out as immigrants, as prisoners, as exiles, maybe their hands tied behind their backs, and now they're coming back on royal thrones. For God has commanded that every lofty mountain be made low. It's not so easy to drive over that. There's some cars going along there, and if they had to turn left and go over the mountain, that would be a very big ordeal. Well, take away the mountain or open a tunnel, like has happened in so many places, even in the Mount of Olives. There's a big tunnel running through it to open up the way to Jericho. And fill in the valleys. Fill in the valleys. Make it easy to travel. Make it easy to travel. God is leading. It's God's command. We may advance along the path secure in the glory of God. These are all concepts from the prophet Baruch. What amazing language, what amazing thought, what amazing vision and perspective for our lives. And this is also the expectation of Advent. When they read this from Baruch, they hadn't received it yet. He's telling them to get ready. Prepare yourselves for glory. There's misery now. There's misery in the family. There's misery in the economy. There's misery in our health. There's misery in our relationships. There's the human weakness, dysfunctionality with all its messiness and dirtiness and sometimes evil and overpowering dynamics, like something like COVID comes and government regulations come, something like wars, violence, forced migration, maybe violent forces in a country through cartels. That's all happening today, all of these things. And we're dealing with it. And the impact is worldwide because we have a globalized world, we're all connected, so it affects everybody. My brother says that the cost of fertilizers for the farming in Ireland have quadrupled since the Ukraine war. That's a huge burden when you have a very balanced budget, or trying to have a balanced budget for the farm work. And the Ukraine war is very far away. But we're all connected, we're dependent on each other. The emphasis again, the Lord has done great things for us. We are filled with joy. And I heard a commentary this morning from a German priest, does a little short commentary every morning. And it was very nice. There's a verse down here that often intrigued me because of the farming image in this psalm. And it says, although they go forth weeping, carrying the seed to be sown, they shall come back rejoicing, carrying their sheaves. The sheaves are the bundles of harvested grain still attached to the straw and bundled up to be taken back to the central place in the farm and further processed, threshed and so forth. And now they are happy because they're bringing back the fruit of the land, the sheaves. But before they went out, sad because they had to sow all of this in the ground. But what he is saying, what this priest commented this morning was, notice when they're going out sad that they are sowing. So maybe we're going through a hard time now, a time of difficulty, but to be sowing during the time of difficulty, sowing seeds, even if we're drying our tears, sowing seeds of goodness, even if we're in a wartime, training the children to love peace, training the children at home to be kind to their sibling, even if there was an injustice by one of the siblings. Small little things, because that's where we learn to be ready to do the bigger things and to make the bigger sacrifices to bring these things about. Maybe people have done very grave ill, and start sowing seeds already for conversion, for prayer. That one day they'll start praying in order to turn around. That one day they'll face their weakness and do opposite deeds of kindness instead of habits of anger, deeds of gentleness. When we're going out sowing, when we're sad to go out sowing, that's a great line. Oh, look at these birds way, 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 way up there, really high up. Some of these birds are huge. Well, all of these birds, like they'd be the same flock, are huge. We saw them in Bet Shean when we were coming back from Jerusalem last week, and they were some birds look dark in the sky, but they're actually white. flying to Africa for their winter. There's an awful lot more in the second reading and in the Gospel, so I leave that to you. God bless you. See you later, alligators. And then we'll be making a big pause in the transmissions for starting. You won't have a live stream on Wednesday morning. God bless you. See you later, alligators. Come on, turn around. Took me 3 times touching the phone to get it turned around. Moses did it in 2 strokes on the rock. I had to hit it 3 times. God bless you.